Guys, Metakey is something that I'm actually super high on. Good friend Jeremy, of course, was the one to highlight us on this project in particular.
Hello, hello.
Hey, how is it going? All right, so Matty, my man, can you give us a little bit of a rundown of what the Metakey is?
So the Metakey is really just a project where the idea is the nature of blockchain. What it allows you to do is basically plug into already built projects. So as Decentraland, the Sandbox, and other platforms on connected to Web3 or blockchain mature, it opens the doors for someone to come and be like, oh, well, why don't you integrate my NFT into your project and make it, a small sword or a game item or special access somewhere. The Metakey is really just an experiment in mass in that direction, and to kind of inspire or lead or kind of just push the industry forward into thinking what else can be done with the technology side of a non-fungible token.
How are you guys deciding what studios you're wanting to work with for these Metakeys?
Or do you mean by the actual design?
Just by kind of like the design of them, because each individual one so far, I think, have been like just unique in and of itself. And because you guys have like these three initial Genesis ones, is it going to be kind of like different if you only happen to own like the second key versus just the first key, or are you going to end up needing like every key that you guys end up coming out with?
So we're kind of figuring out what the distribution model should be in the sense of, the value model, right? Should people that have all three keys be rewarded more? Should we have an extended experience for those that have number 2 and 3 or 3 or 1? And for some cases, it makes sense. For some cases, it doesn't make sense. Maybe when we do a wearables or a Decentraland wearables drop, maybe it makes sense to have 3 different kind of full sets that get airdropped to different key holders, right? Because you got maybe a Gen 1 legendary design, maybe a Gen 2 less legendary design, and all that sort of stuff. So we're kind of playing with different things and seeing what the reaction is. At the end of the day, we just want the community to be very happy.
And do you guys think that right now you're kind of like under the radar? Because we're seeing some of these other things like, Punk's Comics, these aliens and like Yetis, where it's kind of like, it feels like it's one-time use, so there's not really much for it. But I mean, you guys held the event the other day where you're building this, communities and stuff in Decentraland where you have the Shark Tank. And I think it's the coolest idea ever. So do you feel like at all that you guys are kind of getting overlooked with, you have the real deal right here, but people are talking about kind of just the fluff of the day?
When we first launched, and we launched with just one Twitter thread, we sold like 800 Metakeys within 48 hours. And that sort of inflow of community is very difficult to manage, especially for a new project. So I'm stopping myself from marketing very heavily on YouTube and doing Clubhouse events and going on podcasts and, hitting up big partnerships at the moment, just because I want to measure and grow at least maybe for the next 2 to 4 weeks an organic community. But obviously we have a lot of land in DCL, we'll have a lot of land in different virtual worlds. And when we build them out and we go very heavy on being this community that exists in the virtual space, we have hundreds of events a month, and we're doing so much. There's no way you cannot notice the Metakey.
Well, in all honesty, there's been a couple of different events that I've seen on Twitter of people, saying, hey, like we have these like art festivals or whatever, where it's just kind of like an afternoon of like artists and people going out to Decentraland. But when I seen you guys were doing the Shark Tank, I was really wanting to be there. And I was just excited for the opportunity that you guys are doing something that's kind of different. Now, speaking of Decentraland, you've been talking about it a lot. Why are you so high in particular on Decentraland? Decentraland
was the first kind of virtual world platform. I think it was the first overall. It looks like very early days there was this thing called Etheria. I wasn't part of that community back then, but I remember Decentraland was special to me because when I started, it was a thing, right? Virtual land on blockchain became more of a thing when Decentraland came about in mass in crypto. Now obviously we have the Sandbox doing things, and that will make sense when we do gaming and stuff that Sandbox will unlock for us. But I'm big on DCL just because I know the community and the founders well, and when you know that sort of a structure well, then it's very easy and nimble to move. I can just message some people that I know that do this part of DCL, or that can build stuff in DCL, other people that can dev stuff, other people that can model, other people that can run events, and it's just very easy for me to organize.
Is you guys actually have like I want to say more mature community. If I can, it feels like people are more, open, receptive, talking about different projects. And there's not really anything of like, hey, you're not allowed to talk about other projects. It's very kind of seamless. And then you have, moderators and other people giving perspectives on different projects and making people aware of them. So can you just talk about the benefits of being in the Metakey Discord?
For the Metakey, and I've joined the Discord, how do we give that an additional experience or a better experience than other Discords out there? And we're still figuring it out. And that's why I thought about problems I can solve for myself. So right now, there's a lot of NFT stuff going on out there. Very difficult to keep up with it all. So in the Discord, we have NFT strategy and NFT radar. NFT radar being a locked channel where only moderators can post, or people that know certain NFT projects well, go out and look for them, do a bit of a synopsis and a description, and throw that into the Discord. We get that information and chat about it in NFT strategy. In the future, it makes sense, instead of growing your own user base, to capitalize on other projects that have user bases, and you can identify, kind of like what Rarible did with early collectors. They figured out who the early super rare and makers place and art collectors were, and they gave them all some Rari tokens. And then everyone took those Rari tokens and rushed to Rarible to either sell them for money or purchase more NFTs. So they utilize already existing communities. And that's the whole concept of the Metakey as well, in a way, is that if you own the Metakey, then we'll continue to airdrop stuff to you. So again, moving forward, and I think this is the first time you guys are going to hear this, but we're doing like an avatar kind of distribution where we're doing something similar to punks or Bored Apes, but the distribution model isn't selling them, but it's airdropping them to Metakey holders. So within our own Discord and our own community, we have our own identity.
For the keys, for anyone that's wanting to get one, the edition 1 is sold out. However, you can get that on secondary. Edition 2 right now is out of 168 of 750 left. Is there going to be an edition 3, edition 4? How spaced out do you think these are going to be?
The first 3 editions, I think we're slowly selling them at a rate that is sustainable, but we're also doing a lot of stuff here in our HQ, our real life HQ. The idea is that early supporters get rewarded through the purchase of the first few gens. 1, because the supply is really low. 2, because it's purposely under the radar and no one knows about it. And so those that are finding out and purchasing and being part of the community, that's a big deal because you're not joining in with the hype. Now, if everyone joins in with the hype, then you're just going to get this project that blows up. So, hey, we can bring the hype, but by that time we want insane utility, right? We want people to come in this and be like, holy crap, there's so many things to do. Whether this thing goes up or down in investment, I don't care. I'll buy the Gen 4. They just want to get all the stuff that comes with it. We are actively going to see how we can continuously add value to our early supporters because they stuck with us. They created discussion in Discord. They had ideas. I mean, you got me on a call to explain more about the Metakey, and we value that a lot.
It is kind of like a dangerous game where there's not many projects, it seems like, that are really taking the time to do their due diligence. Where have you learned that, like, hey, if I want this project to be like kind of the real deal, we want to build up the slow thing and have that utility? Is it just from experience, or was there any kind of like situations that led you to this?
I think definitely experience. I just remember in 2018, there was basically like 200, 300 people in all of NFT land.
That's crazy.
And we were like jumping from Discord server to Discord server almost weekly into some new project. And then we're kind of like locusts, right? We would buy up this new thing and then sell it and then move on to this next shiny object. So 2018 was a very big learning curve for me because out of like, the 50 or the 80 projects that launched, there's probably like 2 or 3 that survived and the rest just stopped building. So that's why I'm very hesitant to invest in things that are new and up and coming, because as you've probably noticed, and if you stick around for 6 to 8 months, you'll notice a lot of the stuff that has come up in the last 2 months, no one's really talking about it, or there's so many more cooler things. If Bored Apes goes on to make like comic books and all sorts of things, which I guess punks are doing, that cements the history, right? So Bored Apes actually makes a lot more sense to me than 90% of the other stuff that has come up on my radar.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, cool. So one thing in terms of purchasing a Metakey is I've noticed that there's ones on Rarible and then ones on OpenSea, but I always feel like I'm getting offers constantly on Rarible for the Metakey. Does it matter which one you purchase the Metakey on versus Rarible and OpenSea?
The only difference is if you purchase or sell on Rarible, you're eligible for a Rarible token drop.
Ooh, okay.
So you'll get a bit of Rari tokens. So when we sold on Rarible, we actually wanted to sell on OpenSea, but OpenSea didn't have the ability to sell on your own contract. So we looked at Rarible because we needed a solution, and eventually we'll go to our own kind of a platform. But with Rarible, when we sold, we got quite a lot of Rari tokens, which helped fund the project.
And so if I was to say 5 years from now, for Metakey holders, what do you think are going to be the benefits?
I think the blockchain gaming space will unlock massively. I think there'll be a massive surge in games that are coming out, AAA games that will start to unlock the ability to do something with NFTs. And then when that happens, interoperability makes sense. And when that happens, ideally we'll come knocking on their doors and say, hey, give us a perk for the Metakey. I think in 5 years, there's going to be so much activity in virtual worlds that wherever you go, you're not going to ignore, you'll be seeing someone that has something and you'll ask the question, what does that person have and where did he get it? And he all got it from that Metakey he bought 5 years ago as a once-off purchase.
Love it. All right. Well, Matty, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for taking the time and explaining the Metakeys. I got 2 of them. I feel like I got to go get more now and get the 3rd one when it comes out. But thanks for taking the time, and hopefully we'll have you back soon and maybe in 5 years too.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me. Good to see you in the Discord and looking forward to chatting again.
All right, for sure. All right, have a good one. All right, guys, that is Matty, DCL blogger. Holy sheesh. What? I'm not going to lie. I think that he leaked when he was like, I don't know how much we're going to say this or whatever, but we got stuff dropping to the people. You know what I mean? And you're right. There's only a few people in here, Mr. Gokina. And there's only 750 key 2s? Wonder if we can beat him. And he's right. It is under the radar.